Hey, this is John Hope Bryant. This is the Money and Wealth podcast series on Black Effect Network uh, on iHeart, by the way. We're honored to be associated with these brands and my brother Charlemagne, where I serve on the board of Black Effect also and bring you this content every week in an attempt to change your life for the better. This is going to be a very impactful uh, episode, I believe, because I'm going to break down something that no one really talks about. Uh, I'm going to break down everything from fake riches to real wealth, real generational wealth. I'm going to do it in one episode. So let's get into this. Um, there are six layers from fake wealth, sorry, six layers from fake rich to real wealth. Six layers. Now, there are subcategories in each of these areas without question. But if you understand these six layers, you understand the basic game and how it's played. So let's get into the first one. The first one, the first layer is influencer and bling rich broke. I'm sorry. Let me say that differently. Influencer and bling rich, which ultimately means you're broke. But in the short term, it is a form uh, in the current definitions of how people define rich. It is in the pantheon. In fact, it is probably the overwhelming definition in most people's minds of what rich really is. And uh, it is something I want to break down because I have a problem with people who misrepresent themselves, to be something they're not, to have something they're not, to take from somebody who has not, and then as a result of that has less. And I can almost respect the Ponzi scheme a little bit more because at least there is some actual legitimate business activity on the way to illegitimate business activity. But this is just straight up hustling. Particularly some of these financial influencers, but I'm not going to get into picking on one group or another. I'm not picking on anybody. I'm explaining what this is. Now, by the way, there are legitimate influencers, and they're the legitimate financial influencers. Ash Cash is someone who I respect, who's trying to educate people. He's not saying something he's not. He does promote a certain lifestyle, which is aligned with success, but he's very transparent about what he's trying to do, as best I can tell. So he's really positioned himself as an educator. There are other folks who just straight up lying. So a lot of these influencers are just straight up faking it. They are in a jet that's really a movie set. It's not even a movie set. It's a room in Hollywood. There may be other cities, but I know in Hollywood you can rent a room for, I think it's $75 an hour, that is set up as the interior of a private jet. You can rent Lambos for $75 an hour, 70 Lamborghinis, sorry. You can rent, there is a $100 million mansion in Hollywood that is well known. This is not something that is well known in the influencer community. Once a week, you can rent this place. I think it's $100 an hour. I'm probably wrong about that. I'm doing it by memory. And you can show up and record your weekly content in this mansion that you don't own. The shopping sprees. Folks are going online and buying shopping bags. I'm not kidding. They're buying Louis Vuitton and Hermes and other shopping bags, and then getting a shot as if they're walking out of, not as if they're walking out of the store carrying the bags filled with merchandise, but really it's filled with stuffing, and the only thing real is the bag which they bought online. there are companies in Los Angeles because, in all fairness, if you're in Hollywood today, is you know companies won't, I'm told, represent you if you want to be an actor or creative unless you have a following on social media. That's the first thing that they go and check, it appears. And so I understand the quandary of people then going and buying bots and buying followers and all this stuff, or doing what it takes to try to look successful so they can then get the following. I guess I can understand the hustle in that regard. And as long as you're not hurting anybody else, by the way, as long as you're not asking somebody for money, you're not playing on anybody, you're not defrauding anybody, all this is fine. I'm saying it's not healthy and it's not sustainable. But if that's what you want to do, then all good. I mean, I've faked it until I made it growing up. I walked around with fake jewelry on when I was in my 20s. I had a cell phone wire in my Mustang, 1967 Mustang. I had a cell phone cord connected to a cell phone handle that led to nowhere. Back when you had phones in the car, phone handles in the car, I actually went to Radio Shack and bought the phone cord and the phone handle and cradle, and then antenna back when they had antennas, and stuck the antenna on the car because I was trying to look good for the girls. I was trying to be somebody I wasn't. I understand the game, but at some point you've got to grow up and move beyond it. And I wasn't trying to hurt anybody else. I wasn't trying to separate anybody from their wallet. I just was insecure and didn't understand success and what real success really looked like. And I didn't have anybody telling me, as I'm trying to tell you now, how this game is really played, right? So a lot of folks are uh, trying to impress people with money they don't have, to impress people they don't know, to live in places they can't afford, to be something they're not, to achieve something that's not real, with folks who don't care about you. So, how are influencers that fake these lifestyles? How are they doing it, where it's actually producing something? Here's a quick summary. The ones that are really smart have sponsorship and brand deals. Now, the short answer in this is views. By the way, a lot of folks are trying to make money on getting paid on views, which is why you increasingly will see on credible platforms like YouTube, you'll see these clickbait titles where a title will bring you into a video, but you go to see the video, it has nothing to do with the title, or it was just an outright lie. And the person that they're saying said something, didn't say anything of the sort. They're just trying to get you to watch it long enough to record as a view so they can get paid. The legitimate approach to this is sponsorship and brand deals, where brands might pay them to promote their product to their following, and then they can create content that align with those brands, typically luxury brands or products. Influencers can then attract paid partnerships, making it seem like they live an affluent lifestyle and earning money from the deals at the same time. Affiliate marketing. Influencers can make money through affiliate marketing, where they promote products or services and earn a commission for sales generated through their unique referral links that are tied to them and their name. You'll see that on many influencers' pages. This can include everything from fashion and beauty products to high-ticket items that fit the luxury image they project. Nothing wrong with this either. By the way, you won't see that on any of my pages. Just to be clear, I don't have to talk about stuff because I'm doing stuff. I don't have to profile or floss because I've built businesses, grown businesses, run businesses, and run them today. Have a payroll at 7 figures every 2 weeks and have 400 employees. So when I tell you something, I'm telling you from experience. And you need more and more people who are successes in their areas that you can then model. Uh, you can model them as an influencer because, well, they influence you with their influence. They impress you because they're impressive. You want to follow people who are the leaders in whatever industry they position themselves in. They're the best in class. They're the Michael Jordan of their space. Sponsorship content and ads. Platforms like Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok offer monetization options for creators who with significant followers. Influencers can earn through ad shown on their content, especially on YouTube. It's like advertising agencies. You're getting paid to bring in an audience, and that then allows advertisers to put themselves in front of that audience. And as a creator, this is completely legitimate. You get a portion of that. So this is again an example of how a legitimate example of how creators can get paid. Um, Fake it till you make it. I already talked about that. Courses, ebooks, and merchandise. I don't have a problem with that at all, as long as you fess up that that's what you're doing. Be legitimate about it. Be straight up about it. Tell people that you're making. You are an educator. Don't profess and act like you're something you're not. If you never, you can't talk about real estate unless you've been in real estate. If you're going to do that, say you're a professor. Say you're an educator. Say you're going to educate people in real estate. You can do that, but you're not the professional in real estate. You can educate people on technology, but don't say that you've done, or venture capital. Don't say you've built businesses, or it's too easy to check stuff out these days. You're going to be found out, right? You can confirm whether somebody is I'm sorry, somebody exactly is who they say they exactly are. You can find that out in 28 seconds these days. So don't lie about it. Just there's nothing wrong with being an educator, an inspirer, or a motivator. Um, in fact, it's something very credible about that. Just say who you are. So courses, ebooks, and merchandise, crowdfunding, and donations. Some influencers ask their followers for donations or use platforms like Patreon to generate monthly income from their most loyal fans. They might offer exclusive content or perks in exchange for financial support. Again, full transparency, nothing wrong with it. They're leveraging credit and loans. I think this is crazy, but they're getting lines of credit and loans to try to look the part. That's going to really blow up in their face. Okay, now we're going to run through the rest of these quicker. I'm not going to go into the deep dive I did on the influencer and bling rich piece, but I thought it was really important to break that down and get into detail. If you're going to do that, do it. For most people, this is just a short term. This is what you're doing right now. I'm going to do a whole thing about why this is such a rage, such a craze. Why do people? What happens when people turn on the camera? They just change most people just completely change as a human being. And I'm gonna do a separate podcast and some Straight Talk Live just on that, but that's not for today. But I really wanted to get into this because this first layer of rich is fake rich, straight up fake rich. And ultimately, unless you use that to transition into something else, you're going to be broke. Which then leads to my second level of rich, which is transactional rich. This is luck. Something you're doing with influencer in the bling bling situation put you in the right place, the right time. You influence somebody, you impress somebody, you right place, right time. I've been right place, right time. I got lucky. I know I put myself in that place. You can read that in my book, Up From Nothing, or my book, The Memo. How I went to Malibu, California, and worked as a waiter, not a very good one, at Joffrey's restaurant, and put myself in a position to meet somebody would be a billionaire today, but he was worth $200 million back then, Harvey Baskin, and he hired me as his personal assistant. And I was rich in spirit, rich in knowledge, rich in insight, because I had access to him. But anyway, you can be transactional rich because you luck up, right? You get a deal, you get a hookup. You won the lottery. Here's a great example. You won the lottery. Now, people are going to say, all right, John, well, how is this transactional rich? Because I'm saying this is the broke in time. First one is broke, period. Broke in real time. This is broke in time. Now, somebody's going to say, well, wait a minute. I won the lottery. How can you say I'm going to be broke in time? Isn't that presumptuous, John? 70%, give or take, of those who win the lottery are broke within 5 years because it's not about the money. Somebody once asked me, like, John, why are you teaching all this financial literacy stuff? Just take everybody's money, all the rich people's money, redistribute it equally to everybody in the world, and that's it. Well, I'll tell you, if you do that, in 3 to 5 years, the top 3%, which include me, that you took the money from to distribute to everybody else, will all have it back. Because financial literacy is real. Because it's not about the cash is just simply a means of transferring value. It's It's the insight, it's the knowledge, it's how to build that's really important. That's what I'm trying to teach you in this Money and Wealth series. Uh, you just be broke in time, which then leads to my third level of riches. Now you started getting into, again, mind you, I note a difference between rich and wealthy. Okay, rich, it's a contract. It's a thing. It's it's an upgrade on making a living, right? But you're not necessarily making a life. You build wealth in your sleep. Please write that down. You make money during the day, you build wealth in your sleep. It's compounding, right? It's stocks, bonds, investment, business, real estate, any other forms of assets. Music publishing is an example of those who love the music business. We're doing an entire podcast just on uh, the future of the music business, particularly the black music business. So watch out for that one. But contract riches is the first real entry to the big game. What's a contract rich? What's an example of contract riches? An NFL contract, National Football League. An NBA contract, National Basketball Association. Um, Baseball, hockey, soccer, NASCAR. These professional sports areas, they find the best of the best talent, and then they give them these incredible contracts. And these players often have never seen this kind of money before in their lives. And in most cases, particularly those who come from underserved neighborhoods like where I came from, the first year of receipt of that contract is rather predictable. The money's gone. They just spend the money. By the way, I did a podcast on professional athletes. I specifically drilled down on that. Go back and listen to that podcast for those who aspire to be a professional athlete out of high school, college, or you have a child that you want to be a professional athlete. You need to really take time and listen to that. I want this entire podcast series to be something that, as a whole, network of episodes, 50 plus episodes, you can take this and give it to your child, right, as they go off to college or whatever. Give it to somebody who just got married. Give it to somebody who just standing off in life. Somebody who's resetting their life. You listen to these while you're working out, while you're going to work, while you're going home, whatever. You listen to it, as a series or episodically, meaning the ones that interest you at that moment, and they can transform your life. So contract riches is not wealth. My friend Tony Ressler owns the Atlanta Hawks. He's a principal owner. He has other investors in the Atlanta Hawks basketball team. Tony's worth, a lot. I won't get into his business, but it's public information. And that's my brother from another mother. I love Tony. Tony dresses in jeans and polo shirt or something. His beautiful wife, Jamie Gertz, is, I think, to this day, the wealthiest woman in Hollywood. She's an actress and producer, etc. They just dress normal. You would never know. They drive normal cars, relatively speaking. They're not blinged out. But when you pull in the Atlanta Hawks, or any, by the way, professional team parking area for the players, it looks like an exotic car lot. And I mean blinging, slinging, slanging, glossing, flossing. And then when they get out, what they got on, it makes the car look to shame because now they're just draped, right? And the girl is draped. And of course, everybody's got to be on the front row so that I guess they can be seen. That's the presumption I'm going to make. I sit with Tony and Jamie, my wife Shatra and I, when we go as guests, and we're up at the, I don't know, we're not on the floor. So I'm going back. We're in that first row, probably 6 or 8 rows back. So, we're 15, 18 rows back from the court. And nobody knows who Tony is, doesn't say owner's box or owner's seat. He just sits down and he buys a hot dog like everybody else. But he's paying those players who are profiling with his petty cash. He's writing the check, they're cashing it. I did a piece on one of my social media accounts about a NFL player who whose father and financial advisor said you're gonna be an LLC, a limited liability corporation, not a person, and you're gonna contract with the NFL. This, I think it was $100 million contract, and they're gonna pay your LLC corporation, not you as a person, because you're providing your professional services, and they're gonna basically gonna be their partner. And the team, they didn't want to upset the guy. He was a first round, pick. But the word came back, and they sent it up to the NFL so they could blame it on them. But everybody knew the answer was. The word came back, blah 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 blah. No, no, we can't do that. Listen to me now. This is contract riches. You are an employee. The NFL provides your training facilities. The NFL provides your uniforms. The NFL gave you a advance on your signing, on your contract. And by the way, in the NFL, you may have $100 million contract or $50 million contract, but really, only thing you really own in the NFL is that signing bonus and how many games you play. Hopefully, you never get hurt. But the NFL is unique in that you can sign a $50 million contract. It doesn't mean they're going to pay you $50 million unless that's what you negotiate in advance. That's again, go and listen to my specific podcast I did on professional sports. Back to this topic. And by the way, all this is fair exchange is no robbery. Like, capitalism is a gladiator sport. Like, there's nothing wrong with this. This is fair exchange is no robbery, and everybody's winning here. I just wanted, I need the person cashing the check to be able to win, and not just the person writing the check who knows how to win already. That's why they're writing the check. So this guy wanted to be treated as a partner, but the team had to remind them the training equipment, the training staff, the coaches, the facilities, the infrastructure, the transportation, the health care plan, the pension plan. What does that sound like, everybody? That sounds like what you get when you work at a corporation, doesn't it? A highly paid executive. That's right, you're an employee. So you can't be a partner taking risk and sharing the risk and being an employee at the same. Well, you can if you're the owner of the company, but you cannot have it both ways, right? So this guy it was financial illiteracy. People, and by the way, he was doing this because he was trying to avoid taxes. This is a whole nother conversation. You want to get deeper in that, go to my social media account. I think you can find it easier in my Instagram account at John Hope Bryant everywhere, and watch that episode. You'll see it because the operational logos in the background, so you can find it very easily. It's a very popular conversation. But the guy was trying to avoid taxes, or his father was, or his agent was, whatever. And I'm glad that it didn't work out, because he would have gotten arrested and gone to jail, because that's a felony. So contract riches last 3 to 5 years in professional sports on average, right? And most people aren't making tens and tens of hundreds of $1 million. They're making, high 6 figures. If they're lucky, low 7 figures, most players. And you can play 3 to 5 years on average, and you'll get, injured, or you're not top of the game anymore, and they trade you, or they buy out your contract or whatever. But on average, the contracts are not very long. The careers are not very long. If you have a 10-year career in professional sports, you're doing amazing. But life is long. If you lived to 80 years old on average, and you went into the professional sports at 20 years of age, 18 years of age, you do the math. By 25, 28, you're done. You're retired. But what happened to the money? Your bills now have stacked up to a level, but your revenue has just dropped. So now you got Bentleys on lease and Ferraris on lease, and houses in 2 or 3 places, and you got a lifestyle you and your family has gotten grown accustomed to, and private jets and all that kind of stuff. By the way, I'll do a whole piece on private jets. The people who actually own these jets don't pay for them personally. Hello. The mansions, the jets, all this stuff it's a system, and I'll explain to you how that works in another episode. I hope you guys like how I stay focused on the topic at hand, so I can give you the lesson that I promised you, the sharing that I promised you. So the in this example, you go broke uh, uh, in the end because 70% of all NFL players and I believe NBA players, about 70%, 60 to 70%, it's majority, are bankrupt in 5 years. And worse, divorced 5 years after retirement. Uh, the partner tends to find no interest or other interests. And whatever the answer is, they leave them or they break up, or I don't know the circumstances, of course. I'm not getting people's lives. I'm telling you that this is just not coincidental. Okay. So now let's get into real wealth. So we gone on to influencer and bling rich, broke. Transactional rich, broke in time. Contract rich, broke in the end. So now let's talk about the first stage of wealth. It's a liquidity event. So you've built a business, or you're a rapper, or you're a singer, and you have publishing rights that you own, or writing rights that you own. You are a professional athlete, and you have taken stock or share of ownership in a business or a brand that took off like a rocket. You were an influencer, and you tripped uh, over God's grace, and you were humble, and you were doing it right. And I'm gonna say that you're an influencer, and you actually had a really good training program. And that thing that took off like a rocket, it was incorporated, and everybody's subscribing to it, and they're benefiting from it. You've got now a YouTube channel that's generating all kind of revenue, but really the thing that's beneficial is the company itself. And you sold the company. You sold the company. You liquidated the stock. You sold the publishing rights. In my case, I built and sold a company. I've done this several times, but the example that I love to give is the Promise Homes Company that I built over 5 years and sold it for over 120 million, or about 121 million dollars total transaction value um, over 5 years. Um, and you have what's called in business and on Wall Street, they understand it to be a liquidity event. That's where the net worth that you have becomes liquid cash. As my friend Tony would say, the deal ain't done, Tony Rester, until you see the wire transfer come into your account. So the first stage of real wealth is, well, the first stage where you can see it, experience it in a different way, is where you set it up and you paid it off. So you bought some real estate. Now you're building wealth when you buy real estate, or you're building a business. So I'm giving you the crib notes here, because I don't want anybody getting arguing about, well, John, there was asset value, wealth creation before the liquidity event. Yes, yes, yes. But the stage where you can breathe, and so that inflection point on this fourth level between fake rich and real wealth, real generational wealth, is this fourth level, which is the first stage of real wealth. Again, you make money during the day, you build wealth in your sleep. So now you've set it up and you paid it off. You built this business, and now somebody's bought that business from you, confirming that it had a value. Same thing with the publishing rights, whatever it is. You thought it was valuable, and somebody confirmed that it was valuable. The market did, and they paid you for it. And you take that money and you don't spend it. Now, if you want to take 20%, 30% and go create lifestyle events for yourself, or I rewarded my Operation Hope team. I took care of Promise Homes team too, but my Operation Hope my financial literacy organization, the nonprofit. You can see the video online. I bought them all. I bought my senior management teams. I bought them all cars and gave them investment accounts, because they don't have big bonuses and big salaries working for a nonprofit. They don't have stocks. They couldn't do that for themselves. So I wanted to reward them for all their years of hard work. At that point, it would have been 25 plus years. And so I used my liquidity event to guess which car each one of them would love, and I bought them each the car and surprised them. Again, it's a video, you can watch it. You can search for it and watch it if you like. And the visual on their faces was priceless. But I did that with my petty cash, just like Tony Resser pays salaries to his ball players with petty cash. I then made sure I paid my taxes, which was not petty cash; it was seven figures. But I was proud to pay my taxes. Always pay your taxes, because that means you're making money. Don't be upset because you're paying your taxes. That is, not only your obligation, your right, as somebody in the free enterprise system and capitalism, but it's confirmation that you made it. And the government was your partner in your silent partner in your success, because you're operating in the most valuable, most prominent economy in the world, the United States of America. And now you feel real personal about those potholes, by the way, when you pay the kind of taxes I paid. And you become an expert in taxes. But by the way, they got Al Capone not on murder and mayhem, the gangster. They got him on tax evasion. There's one thing you don't mess with is the police, is the IRS. You just do not mess with the IRS. Never, never, never. So I did this thing for my team. I took care of my family. These are normal situations, right? Of course, made sure I celebrated my wife and my mom, my sister and brother, aunties, etc. Took care of my team, took care of the IRS, and made some investments that would build wealth over time. What investments? None of your business. But some of it's predictable. Generally speaking, it was the stock market, and no, it was not cryptocurrency, all that kind of stuff. It was solid, traditional stuff that's not going to implode tomorrow. You want to put this is your nest egg. Like, you won't get another one of these liquidity events. This may be it. So you want to put that in something that is going to be there, and you really just want to. If you're going to play with anything, play with the interest on those investments, but you don't want to take the principal from those investments. So there's money that's set aside that you don't touch from that liquidity event, and that's going to build more wealth. So you built wealth the first time. That was an illiquid investment. You then had a liquidity event. You sold whatever. By the way, the purpose of the company is to build it, grow value, build value, build a customer base, whatever, and sell it, right? To monetize it, shall I say? Different ways to monetize it, but that is the purpose of growing a company like this. Don't get emotional about it, and then you can buy. You can build another company, by the way, or buy that one back. People have bought their own companies back over time, but you got to find a way to pull the register, to pull the cash register, to pull the I made it stick, right? They call it clipping a coupon on Wall Street. Don't get emotional about it, right? Whenever you make a bad decision, it's an emotional decision in business. Do not become emotional in business. It's just business, right? So I made some investments, which I can confirm already have done their job. So, one piece of real estate I invested in is almost doubled in value. That's happening without me. It's growing in my sleep, right? So what I say about wealth, you build wealth in your sleep. Now I built 50 businesses, right? 50 businesses and 50 enterprises. I'm just telling you about one that's public information. It's searchable. It's on the internet. I signed a $200 million credit facility. Me and my partners on the new company. I'm still an owner of shareholder in the new company, even though I sold the company. I was an officer of the company for a bit and chairman, but I've resigned from all that, because you got to know when to walk away. You got to know when you've done your job, right? And I had influence but not control. I didn't have any power, so it's fine. I sold the company. The person who bought the company, again, not emotional. They've got the power now. All good. I'm gonna go do something else. But anyway, that's searchable. A $200 million credit facility, another $100 million credit facility recently on that, non-recourse debt, which means I don't have to sign personal guarantees. But anyway, so that's the first level. Then the second, the number 5, the second stage of wealth is where you're not living on your principal. Now, this is the mistake that people who get that contract rich, this is why they go broke in time, is they They forgot that money has velocity, and they thought that money's going to be there forever. They figured that they got 1 million or 5 million or 10 million and 20 million, 30 million, 40 million, 50 million. Ask MC Hammer. They thought that money's going to last forever. No, it will go. Money has velocity. You can spend it. I don't know him personally, but I know of billionaires who went broke. There's a famous boxer. Won't mention his name, but the way he's spending uh, planes for all of his friends, like private planes for him in one private plane, and his boys in the second private plane, and his family in the third private plane. He's gonna go broke. I mean, he'll wear one pair of shoes, won't wear it again. People who got real wealth and real money don't do stuff like this. Is nuts. Anyway, second stage of wealth is now you have these assets. So again, I'm jumping around here, but I'm trying to give you context. So people who have contract riches, number 3, they think that they're in number 5. So number 5 is you're still spending according to your lifestyle you've become accustomed to, right? The difference is when you lock in on number 5, the second stage of wealth, you're spending money that's new money. It's not tied to the liquidity event. It's not tied to that contract you had. Okay, the contract's gone, but you keep spending like you still have the contract. You're going to go broke. When your outflow exceeds your inflow, then your overhead will be your downfall. But if you are lucky enough to build a business and sell it, but now you have a reputation in that industry, and now you can go get a contract. So now you've sold the company and you put that money aside. If you're a couple listening to this and you're saying, well, I don't have all that fancy stuff, John, what can we do? Both people are working. One person makes the money and they use that to pay their bills. The second person makes the money and they use that to invest. Okay, did you hear me? One person's doing contract riches, contract aspiration, and the other person is doing um, a version of wealth creation. Okay, so person number 1 is is making a living. The second person is helping to build a life. Please, if you don't listen to anything else, tell your friends to go to minute 36 or 37 on this podcast and listen to this. One person making a living, one person building a life. One person's paying the bills and you're living within the means of that one person. The second person, my friend Bernard Kinsey in LA did this with his wife, and they have a beautiful mansion overlooking the ocean in Beverly Hills, in Playa del Rey, I think it is. I think it's Playa del Rey in Southern California. And he worked at IBM as a corporate executive, but they have a huge art collection. They just did it right. They lived on his salary or maybe her salary, and then his salary was used for investments, and they got really smart on the investments they made. It really paid off well for them. So you got an expertise now in something because you built this company and you sold it. And other people are now willing to pay you based on that expertise. And you take that income and that's what you live on. That's your lifestyle money. You're not touching the principal. Please tell me you understand what I'm saying. Again, you sold that company or you took that contract income and you put it aside. You lived on a fraction of it. Now you're no longer in the NBA, NFL, whatever, or you're no longer running the business, running the shoe shop or the nail salon or the tech company, whatever it is you built. Okay. But you have an expertise and a brand and a reputation that people value. And now other people will hire you as a board member, an advisor, a consultant, or maybe even a joint venture partner on a new enterprise that gives you cash flow that pays for your lifestyle. And you're going to, listen to me now, live on that cash flow. You're not going to touch the principal unless you're going to make another investment with that principal, or you have some shock event that happens in your life, like a tax bill that shows up that you can't absorb in your cash flow, or there's some capital expense. Capital expense is using capital to, again, for pay taxes or make an investment or something, but you're pulling from the capital. When you pull from the capital, that stack of money you have gets smaller and it's not going to replenish itself, at least not on the level that you're taking from it. That's why people who make a lot of money go broke. They don't understand. They think the cash flow is capital and capital will always be there. No, your cash flow created a stack of money, and the stack of money is going to go away unless you replace it, or you live a lower standard of living either in the real time or when you get beyond your professional career as an athlete. In this example, you got to step down significantly your your um, your expenses. Okay, the sixth stage of wealth, which is where you enter generational wealth. And by the way, there's a joke amongst the wealthy. The first generation makes it, the second generation spends it, the third generation loses it. You can make enough money where it's hard for people to screw it up, but we're talking, I think you're talking about several hundreds of millions of dollars and really safely billionaire status. Still easy to screw it up if you work hard enough at it, but if you just reasonably sane, $1 billion will last generations and generations. In fact, $1 billion will make $10 million. Well, actually, $1 billion will make $100 million if you invest intelligently. I'm thinking about this now. If you have $1 billion in cash or investments, earning 10%, you'll make 100 million. If you have 100 million of investable assets, you'll make $10 million a year, $8 to $10 million a year on a mix of investments with smart investment advisors who are proven, by the way, and you'll never touch the principal. Please listen to what I just said again. You don't want to touch the principal. So that third stage of, so on every stage before this, on some level, please listen to me now. Slow this down and listen again. On some level, and on these first 5 stages, labor was king. Okay, labor was king. Your hands, your mind, your heart, your brain, your thoughts, your looks, your something, your hustle, your hard work, your genius, something about labor generated income and wealth and opportunity for you, and you got paid. But the baller alert here, the drop the mic, the big baller shot caller statement of it on this podcast as we wrap up is the third stage of wealth, number 6. This is real wealth. This is generational wealth. This is where your money makes you money. Woo! I love making smart sexy. We've been making dumb sexy for way too long. We've dumbed down and celebrated it. It's time to make smart sexy again. I love making smart sexy. I know that you're smart, and I know that when you get it, the light comes on. You go, oh yeah, that. So up until this point, labor made your money, but for true wealth, money makes more money than anything else can. So now you've got X dollars set aside, and that money is invested in all the right places, and the return that it gets on the money that you have sitting there is unmatched. And maybe if you want me to go into this and give examples, I mean, private equity is an example of this, venture capital is an example of this, investing in joint ventures, uh, you know, uh, where your money is making you more money than your labor ever could. Now you're building wealth and making money in your sleep. I have friends who have, and this is where you start a family office. Actually, you can start a family office after the level 4, after that first stage of wealth, a liquidity event. Okay. And if you don't know what a family office is, look that up. But it's basically an office dedicated to managing your family's wealth and opportunity. It manages the trust, it manages the wills, it helps the kids to plan financial planning. It facilitates lines of credit and loans, and it manages the stocks. It's staffed, and these folks make sure that you don't go broke, and that you actually, beyond going broke, they make sure that you're building in accordance with your mission statement, your plan. Family office. Did you know what that was? At some point, I'd love to create a coalition of wealthy people of color to create a family office. I have a family office, Rockefeller Capital Management, Rockefeller family out of New York. But so you have this family office, and it's managing your generational wealth. And I guess the story I was going to tell was I have a friend of mine who I can't tell how much money he's worth, but it's billions. And he's got a family office, a manager of his family office, who's got to find a place to shove $100 million, $140 million a year. And I'm gonna do a separate podcast, and that's passive income. He doesn't have to make. He actually told me one day, he got upset with me, um, and said, this friend of mine got upset with me. He's like, I brought him a business deal, not something I wanted to invest in, but I thought something that he would be good for him. He cursed me out, John. Don't bring me any more business deals. I don't want to make any more money. It's a headache. You just, if you want me to meet somebody and do something, let's do it because I like you. I don't need to make any more money. And that you should be scratching your head right now. Like, what did he just say? Because if he makes money, if he earns money traditionally, he's going to be taxed at the highest rate possible. As an example, first of all, it's a hassle. He's got to organize the business, he's got to manage the business. He doesn't want to do all that stuff. He's through that phase of his life. But he's also going to be paying the highest tax rate possible. Whereas if you keep your money in passive investments, wealth creation in vehicles, you're going to pay capital gains tax, which is 21% versus 38% or higher, 38, 35% or higher. And if you maybe even state taxes that type on that jump on that. So people, I'm going to do a whole piece on taxes, but people just don't understand the tax structure. Like, I think I'll drop the mic and leave it here. Warren Buffett, who I've been blessed to meet. I actually stayed next to him at a conference where I made sure that I was always in the elevator when he was in the elevator, by the way, listening to him, talking to him. Nice guy. Warren Buffett is famous for saying that his secretary pays more taxes than him, and that's not fair. And I believe, I'm not in his head, but I believe he was just trying to make a point because he understood why he wasn't paying taxes. It's not like he's a bum or the tax system is just so screwed up where he's not paying his fair share. In fact, the reality is that most taxes in this country are paid for by the wealthy. I think it's 70% of all taxes in the country are paid for by those who are, quote, well-to-do, the top 10%. Check it out for yourself. Which doesn't mean they shouldn't be paying more in certain situations, by the way. But that's the reality. 70% of all taxes are paid by the wealthy. Anyway, Warren Buffett is not paying more taxes than his secretary because his secretary is paying taxes on income. She's paying an income tax. He wasn't talking about more taxes in a literal dollar sense. He was talking about a percentage of taxes. So a percentage of her income, 35, 38%, whatever it is. I don't know her tax bracket, but whatever it is was more than 20%. She was, because she's a 1099 or whatever. She's a W-2, 1099 is independent contractor. She's a W-2 employee. A W-2 employee, I mentioned this with the contract riches, the professional athletes. They are W-2 employees, right? Somebody else is taking the risk, but they're paying you a salary to do a job. Somebody else taking the entrepreneurial risk, and so they get the entrepreneurial rewards. So this person comes in at 9, leaves at 5, gets health insurance, all that stuff. She's a W-2 employee, and she gets taxed at X rate. And he was saying that, why does he only get taxed at a much lower rate? Something wrong with that system. Well, he's paying a crap load more in taxes than anybody in his town. So let's start there. But he was trying to make a compassionate point that that those who are wealthy need to pay a little bit more for the greatest country in the world, in spite of our problems and challenges. My second great grandfather was George Young. He was a slave, and he fought in the Union Army and amongst the black troops in Memphis, Tennessee. And my grandfather was R.B. Smith, who was a sharecropper. So my mother's mother was, God rest her soul, both of my mother and her mother, and Juanita Smith and her mother, Mrs. Murray. My mother's mother was a slave. My mother's mother, yeah, no, my mother's mother, and my mother's mother owned a shotgun shack. So literally came from nothing and built something. So it's just compassion for those who work really hard and who have too much month at the end of their money, and those who have been really well in this light on the hill called America, should be happy to give back where they can, whether it's through philanthropy or through smart investing in taxes where we know it's going for good causes and so on and so forth. But that's another conversation for another day. But I hope this has been helpful. This is 6 layers from fake rich to real wealth to even generational wealth, and even get you a little bonus on the tax system. Okay, this is John O'Brien. Tell all your friends to. This is my Ministry of Finance every Thursday. Is downloading new episodes. Tell them to subscribe to Money and Wealth with John O'Brien on iHeartRadio and the Black Effect Network, and you'll get your podcast downloaded automatically every Thursday. And follow me on all social media platforms at John Hope Bryant, where I do my Straight Talks live series and get my book Financial Literacy for All is #1 in business and finance on major platforms, USA Today, Publishers Weekly, Amazon, etc. Soon to be featured at Walmart. EA, the CEO of Walmart, did the cover. And most importantly, we scholarshiped you into financial coaching through all my partners who've funded the budget at Operation Hope, so we can get financial coaching for you for free at Operation Hope. Download the Hope in Hand app and get your appointment today. This is John O'Brien. This is Money and Wealth, and this is the Civil Rights Movement. Love and light.